Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. We're going to unpack the deeply tragic, honestly terrifying narrative of Father Peter Williams. This story completely flips the traditional possession narrative on its head. We're not just looking at a battle for a human body here. No, this is a high stakes apocalyptic war for a human soul. We start off with how the entire world sees Father Peter. To them, he is literally a living saint. He's this incredibly revered guy, so universally loved for his charity work down in Mexico that even the top brass at the Vatican are marveling at his supposed miracles. The bishop even tells him, only someone who has God inside him can do such things. He is the absolute beacon of hope for his community. But what happens when a so-called living saint harbors a damning 18-year-old secret? That is where the real horror of this story begins. What is truly hiding behind that holy facade? Because as we're going to see, the brightest lights often cast the darkest, most terrifying shadows. Section 1. The perfect facade. There is an intense, almost sickening, dramatic irony at play here. To the public, Peter is this flawless savior, right? A healer of children, a total Vatican darling. But behind closed doors, the reality is incredibly grim. We're talking about a man deeply compromised by sin. He broke his sacred vows, he fathered a child, and worst of all, he was compromised by the exact demonic forces he swore to fight. Moving right along to Section 2, the 18-year secrets. To really understand how Peter became so compromised, we have to jump back 18 years to a completely catastrophic event. It's this chilling chain of cause and effect. During an exorcism on a woman named Magali, Peter is warned that any flaw in his soul is going to allow the demon to enter. And we actually see these brief, flickering flashbacks of Peter's past sin with Magali, highlighting his immense internal struggle. Imagine the sheer weight of that sin. Outwardly, he's projecting purity, but internally, he's consumed by desire. It gets to the point where he's desperately praying for protection, literally speaking the words, "I have committed no sin." But as he says it, the crucifix on the wall begins weeping black oil instead of blood, and the statues of saints actually turn their heads away from him. It's a staggering visual representation of his massive lie. The crucial takeaway here is that if the devil finds even a single flaw in you, he will reach the depths of your soul. During Magali's exorcism, the demon Baldemon didn't just fight Peter. He actively exploited those buried desires. He possessed Peter and forced him to commit an unspeakable assault. Baldemon found that one single flaw and just shattered Peter's holy armor from the inside out. And after that horrific event, Peter just buried the truth. He didn't just break his vows and father a daughter named Esperanza. He actively went into cover-up mode. He literally destroyed the confession tape to hide the evidence. By refusing to actually confess and face the music, he essentially allowed a demon to linger on Earth. And that cowardly decision completely sets the stage for the absolute disaster that's unfolding today. All right, jumping back to the present day in Section 3, the demonic outbreak. Peter's unconfessed sins finally catch up to him when 5 children from his orphanage die in a single week from a supernatural illness. Balban has returned. And this isn't a peaceful passing, guys. Instead of a quiet night in the orphanage, imagine this heavy layer of dread. Dozens of children in the dark, whispering the demon's name, Balban, in perfect unison under their breath. There's this horrifying moment where Peter walks the halls during a silent vigil and finds the kids just standing perfectly still on their beds, staring at the ceiling with pitch-black eyes. He touches one of them, and the child's jaw drops unnaturally low, and the actual voice of Balban comes out, just mercilessly mocking Peter's saintly reputation. So, who exactly is Balban? Well, this isn't just a random evil spirit. Balban is a ridiculously powerful demon of lava and the underworld, commanding a whole legion of slaves. But more importantly, he's a master manipulator. He intentionally targets the local prison and orphanage to systematically break Peter's spirit by weaponizing human fear, guilt, and weakness. Now, a fellow exorcist, Father Michael, arrives to help, and he lays out the incredibly strict rules of engagement here. Number 1, the priest must be completely sinless, which we know Peter definitely is not. Number 2, never, ever negotiate or make a deal with the demon. And number 3, traditional Vatican methods are completely ineffective against Valteban because he adapts and learns. Father Michael is basically telegraphing to us exactly why Peter is absolutely doomed to fail. Then, Father Michael makes this tragic confession. He admits he made a deal with Balban to save some possessed children, and in doing so, lost all of his power and basically bought himself a one-way ticket to hell. That warning completely haunts Peter. It triggers this visceral, agonizing nightmare where a possessed Jesus figure literally steps off the cross and forces Peter to drink the blood of the people he couldn't save. Later, Peter goes to splash water on his face, but he looks into the basin of holy water, and the reflection looking back isn't him. It's this mangled, possessed version of his daughter, Esperanza, reaching right out of the water, grabbing his throat and trying to pull him down into the 9 circles of hell. This leads directly into Section 4, the ultimate choice. We reach a harrowing climax in the prison. Balban, who has now possessed Peter's own daughter, Esperanza, systematically breaks the priest down in 3 precise steps. First, he corners Peter with the undeniable truth of his sin. Second, he threatens to murder Esperanza and every single child in the orphanage. And finally, step 3, Balban drops his ultimate demand. Peter must surrender his soul entirely and let God go. It's a terrifying theological trolley problem, right? Every single option requires an earth-shattering sacrifice. If Peter refuses the deal, he keeps God in his body, but his daughter and all those innocent kids die horrific deaths. But if he accepts the deal, the children live, but he has to expel God from his body, effectively surrendering the earth to the demon. It is a completely lose-lose scenario, masterfully orchestrated by Balban. The demon delivers his final, chilling ultimatum. He says, "I want you to let God out of your body. If you do this, all your children will be saved." It is just the ultimate sick perversion of a holy sacrifice. Which brings us to our final act, Section 5, the false Messiah. Peter actually makes his impossible choice, and what follows is incredibly deceptive. To the outside world, Peter becomes a living legend. He miraculously cures 112 sick children with just a mere touch. But the horrifying reality? During that final exorcism ritual, when Peter boldly claims, "Jesus is inside me," we actually see his skin crawling, like something monstrous is moving underneath it. This is absolutely not divine healing. The deception is so thorough, so complete, that the Vatican, who are completely in the dark about this demonic bargain, actually offers Father Peter a prestigious job as a spiritual counselor in Vatican City. Balban's manipulation of human perception was a total, terrifying success. The Church is blindly elevating the exact evil they are sworn to destroy. And it all clicks into place with this thought. The devil does not need God's throne. They want to rule the earth. The demon's ultimate goal was never just to cause chaos in a small Mexican town. No, it was global infiltration. Balban used a trusted, highly revered figure as a Trojan horse. He wanted the keys to the kingdom on earth, and he got them. So we're left with this massive, tragic irony. Peter's great miracle is actually a complete and total demonic victory. He sacrificed God, and now Balban uses a so-called saint to subtly rule on earth. In the final scene, where the world sees Peter as this wonderful savior, there's a brilliantly subtle horror beat. As Peter blesses a sick child, if you look closely into the child's eye, the reflection isn't Father Peter. It's the demon Balban, sitting right there on a throne. And as Peter walks away, the cured children start to smile, but it's this predatory, rhythmic, deeply unsettling smile. The miracle was a complete lie. I'll leave you with this final, provocative thought for this explainer. If the greatest miracles can be flawlessly orchestrated by the darkest evils, how can anyone actually tell the difference between a saint and a sinner? If evil can wear the face of absolute goodness so convincingly, who can we really trust? Thank you so much for exploring this dark, fascinating narrative with me. Keep questioning what you see.